Hey guys! Tonight, we're taking you on a slow, relaxing journey through ancient China, exploring peaceful gardens, soothing herbal teas, gentle acupuncture, and calming breathing techniques. This sleepy historical story will help you unwind, drift into dreamland, and discover the timeless secrets of restful living. Perfect for anyone who wants to relax, learn a little history, and let their mind gently wander. If you enjoy this story and want more sleepy history adventures, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a relaxing tale. Grab a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's dive into the whispers of the night together. The night had just begun to settle over the valley when the first fireflies appeared above the lotus pond. Their faint, flickering glow danced over the water like tiny lanterns guiding lost dreams home. In the distance, the mountains stood silent, dark blue silhouettes against a velvet sky brushed with silver clouds. The air was cool and carried the faint perfume of jasmine and tea leaves drying on bamboo trays. In the center of this quiet world stood the Garden of Tranquil Rest, a place where time seemed to breathe slower, softer. Ancient pines whispered above the tiled rooftops, and the small streams running through the rocks sang lullabies older than memory. It was said that the monks who tended this garden never hurried, never worried, and never stayed awake past the call of the moon. They lived by one sacred belief: to sleep well is to live wisely. Among them was a young apprentice named Liang. He was curious, always asking questions that made the elders smile. Every evening, as the sun slipped behind the hills, Liang would wander through the winding paths of the garden, wondering how something so simple, sleep, could be treated as an art. He watched the elders prepare their sleeping mats, sip their calming tea, and close their eyes with quiet contentment. But Liang couldn't do it. No matter how hard he tried, he could not fall asleep easily. His thoughts buzzed like the cicadas outside his window. He wondered about the stars, the meaning of dreams, and the ancient scrolls that spoke of secret remedies for rest. He wanted to learn every one of them, to master the way of peaceful sleep. One night, unable to rest, Liang sat beside the lotus pond. The moonlight shimmered on the surface, and in its reflection, he thought he saw a face, soft, kind, and wise. A voice seemed to whisper from the ripples. If you wish to rest your body, still your mind. If you wish to still your mind, listen to the world when it is quiet. Liang leaned closer, but the reflection vanished. Only the ripples remained, widening and fading like fading dreams. From that night onward, he promised himself he would learn the ancient secrets of slumber. Not just for himself, but to help anyone who wandered the restless path of sleepless nights. And so began his journey through the ancient art of sleep remedies, a journey that would carry him through gardens of tea, halls of healing, and the silent wisdom of moonlit nights. When dusk descended upon the valley, the Garden of Tranquil Rest transformed into a living lullaby. The last rays of sunlight melted into soft amber across the stones, and shadows stretched like sleepy cats over the moss. The world did not end its work, it simply slowed down, breathing in harmony with the night. Liang loved this hour. The elders called it the hour between breaths. It was when the world neither belonged to day nor night, but something in between, a moment made for reflection and peace. The monks walked slowly along the gravel paths, their robes brushing the earth, each step in rhythm with the steady beating of their hearts. Master Shen, the oldest monk in the garden, noticed Liang sitting under the plum tree, lost in thought. "Liang," he said softly, his voice carrying the calm of centuries, "why do you sit when the world is walking to sleep?" Liang looked up. "Master, I'm trying to feel what the garden feels, to understand why it rests so easily, while my mind refuses to be still." The old man smiled. "Then walk, not to go anywhere, but to arrive where your thoughts stop." He handed Liang a small lantern made of rice paper. Its warm glow flickered gently against the dark. "Take the slow walk of evening," Master Shen said. "Listen to your feet. Count your breaths. Do not chase silence, invite it." So Liang walked. He stepped carefully, hearing every crunch of gravel, every sigh of wind between bamboo leaves. He noticed how his breath matched the swaying of the lantern light. Step. Breathe. Step. Breathe. Slowly, his thoughts began to quiet. The world didn't rush him. It guided him. By the time he returned to the plum tree, the stars had scattered across the sky like grains of salt spilled on black silk. The garden glowed under their watchful shimmer. Master Shen was gone, but in his place, Liang found a small wooden scroll tied with red thread. On it were written 5 ancient characters. Jing, stillness. Shi, breath. Ha, harmony. Ye, night. Meng, dream. Liang touched the words, tracing them with his fingers. He didn't yet know what they meant together, but somehow, his heart slowed, and the garden felt warmer. That night, for the first time, sleep came easily. The crickets sang, the stream murmured, and Liang drifted away, carried by the rhythm of his own slow evening walk. The next morning, the garden awoke in silence. Dew rested gently on the lotus leaves, and the mist floated low over the pond like a soft blanket. The monks moved quietly, each motion careful and unhurried, like a dance choreographed by peace itself. Liang rose early, still holding the little wooden scroll he had found beneath the plum tree. The 5 ancient characters glowed faintly in his memory. As he walked toward the main hall, he caught the earthy scent of herbs steeping in clay pots. Inside, Mistress Yun, the temple's healer and tea master, was preparing her morning brew. She was known throughout the valley for her knowledge of plants that could calm storms in the mind. "Good morning, young dreamer," she greeted, her voice smooth like silk brushing stone. "Did the moon finally share her sleep with you last night?" Liang smiled shyly. "Yes, Mistress Yun. For the first time, I rested. I walked as Master Shen told me, slowly, and the world felt softer." The old woman nodded. "Then your body is ready for the first cup." She turned toward her table, where bundles of dried flowers and leaves lay in neat piles, chrysanthemum for cooling the spirit, lotus seed for quieting the heart, and jujube fruit for comforting dreams. Her hands moved gracefully, measuring each portion as though she were composing music. "This is not just tea," she said as she poured hot water into the clay pot. "It is a conversation between earth and water, heat and patience. When you drink it, you do not simply taste, you listen." Liang watched the steam rise and swirl, forming shapes that looked like drifting clouds. The air filled with warmth and the gentle scent of peace. Mistress Yun poured the golden liquid into a small cup and handed it to him. "Drink slowly," she whispered. "Let the tea find the parts of you that have forgotten how to rest." Liang lifted the cup to his lips. The flavor was light, sweet but earthy, delicate yet deep. With every sip, he felt the noise in his mind grow distant. The warmth traveled through his chest, into his arms, and finally to his fingertips, where it lingered like sunlight on skin. When he opened his eyes, the world seemed slower, clearer. The morning sounds, the rustle of bamboo, the drip of water, the call of a bird, blended into one quiet melody. Mistress Yun smiled. The first cup teaches the body to rest. The second teaches the heart. The third, the soul. Liang bowed deeply. Will you teach me how to prepare it? She nodded. In time. For now, let the tea finish its work. The garden will tell you when you're ready for the next lesson. As he stepped outside, holding the empty cup, the sunlight broke through the mist, scattering gold across the stones. Liang felt something inside him shift, not an awakening, but a gentle surrender. For the first time, he understood what it meant to be part of the calm. Days passed softly in the garden of tranquil rest. Morning mist rose, afternoons shimmered in still light, and the evenings arrived like the gentle turning of a page. Liang's restless thoughts had begun to quiet, but his curiosity had not. He wanted to understand what made the monks sleep so peaceful, what secret herbs, what ancient scents, what small details could cradle a mind into dreams. One golden afternoon, Mistress Yun invited Liang into the herbal hall, a quiet room filled with hanging bundles of dried flowers, roots, and leaves. Sunlight filtered through the paper windows, painting the air in shades of honey and dust. The scent was unlike anything he had known, earthy, floral, bitter, sweet. It felt as though he were breathing in 1,000 quiet nights. These, said Mistress Yun, motioning to the walls, are the guardians of sleep. Each one carries a story. Some calm the breath, some soften the thoughts, and others, she smiled faintly, teach you to let go. Liang followed her to a long wooden table. Upon it rested small bowls filled with different herbs. She pointed to each in turn. Swan Zao Ren, the seed of the jujube tree. It soothes the heart and keeps wandering dreams gentle. Bai He, lily bulb, for those who carry sadness that keeps them awake. Chrysanthemum, for cooling thoughts that burn too long. And this, longan fruit, for those who fear the night. She handed Liang a dried longan, its shell thin as paper. Taste it, she said. He bit into it. The sweetness was soft and slow, like honey left in the sun. Longan, she explained, reminds the soul that night is not an ending, but a beginning. Sleep is simply another form of living. Liang nodded, trying to absorb every word. He began helping her mix the herbs, learning the rhythm of her movements. She told him that the secret to every remedy wasn't just the plant, it was the intention. If your hands are hurried, your tea will be restless. If your heart is heavy, your brew will taste of sorrow. As evening fell, they carried a pot of the freshly blended tea to the garden steps. The scent drifted into the air, warm, deep, comforting. The first stars appeared above, blinking softly, as though curious about the aroma rising toward them. Mistress Yun spoke again, her eyes reflecting the lantern light. Herbs are the earth's lullabies, Liang. When you understand their voices, you'll never fear sleeplessness again. That night, Liang dreamed not of faces or voices, but of flowers, petals drifting through clouds, leaves whispering in the dark, and the earth itself breathing in rhythm with his heart. The next morning, Liang awoke before the first bell of dawn. The garden still slept, wrapped in mist and the faint hum of crickets. The dew shimmered on every leaf like drops of starlight that had fallen during the night. Liang felt a quiet pull in his chest, a call, gentle but certain, leading him beyond the garden's familiar paths. He followed a narrow trail winding through bamboo and mossy stones until he reached a place he had never seen before, a small wooden hut half hidden beneath a willow tree. Smoke rose softly from its chimney, carrying with it a strange, sweet fragrance, earthy, floral, and faintly metallic, like rain meeting warm soil. As Liang approached, a voice called out from inside. "You're early, little dream seeker." Out stepped an elderly man with hair as white as snow and eyes sharp as moonlight. He wore simple robes, faded with age, and in his hand, he carried a bundle of herbs tied with red string. "I am called Bo Ren, the keeper of the moon herb," he said. "And you must be the apprentice who walks when the world sleeps." Liang bowed deeply. "Master Bo Ren, I have come to learn. Mistress Yun taught me of herbs that quiet the heart, but I still wish to know more, about those that speak to the soul." Bo Ren chuckled softly. "Ah, then you are ready for the rare ones." He motioned Liang inside. The hut was dim, lit by a single oil lamp. Along the shelves were jars filled with shimmering powders, dried roots, and folded silk leaves. But at the center of the room, in a clay pot surrounded by water bowls, grew a single plant unlike any Liang had ever seen. Its leaves were silver white, and in the faint light, they glowed as if holding the moon's reflection. "This," Bo Ren said reverently, "is the moon herb. It blooms only once each season, when the moon is at her fullest. Its scent alone can slow the heartbeat, soften the mind, and open the gates of dreaming." Liang leaned closer. The aroma was subtle but deep, carrying a cool sweetness that made him feel instantly lighter. "Be careful," Bo Ren warned gently. "The moon herb does not forgive haste. If plucked without patience, it loses its power. You must wait until it opens by its own will." Liang nodded and knelt beside the pot, watching the still closed flower. Hours passed in silence. Birds began to sing, the mist lifted, and the garden awoke. But Liang stayed, unmoving, breathing slowly, his eyes fixed on the silver bud. Finally, as evening descended and the moon began to rise, the flower trembled, and bloomed. Its petals opened soundlessly, releasing a faint glow and a scent so soothing that Liang felt his eyelids grow heavy. Bo Ren smiled. "You have learned your second lesson, young one. Sleep, like the moon herb, opens only when one is still enough to wait for it." That night, Liang slept beneath the willow tree, the moon herb's fragrance drifting through his dreams. He dreamed of silver rivers, white petals falling through clouds, and the sound of the moon whispering his name. The moon had long set when Liang woke, his mind floating somewhere between dream and dawn. The air was cool, brushed by the whispering willows that hung low over the hut of Master Bo Ren. Beside him, the silver petals of the moon herb shimmered faintly, their glow dimming as the first light of morning began to stretch across the sky. Bo Ren was already awake, sitting cross-legged by a small clay stove. The faint crackle of the fire was the only sound. He turned slightly as Liang stirred. "Good," he said. "You woke with the light. That means your dreams were kind." Liang smiled softly, rubbing his eyes. "Master, I dreamed of rivers made of moonlight, and voices that hummed like wind through bamboo." Bo Ren nodded. "The moon herb opens more than sleep, it opens memory. Now, it's time to learn the art of silence." He placed a small clay cup before Liang and began to prepare a brew unlike any Liang had seen. There was no rattling of spoons, no pouring of water. Bo-Ren moved with a stillness so complete that even the fire seemed to quiet itself. He added the herbs in silence, ground the petals with slow circular motions, and let the steam rise without stirring it. The first lesson of the silent brew, he whispered, is patience. The second is presence. If your thoughts wander, your water will cool. If your heart rushes, your brew will burn. Liang watched, breathing carefully, as the scent filled the air, delicate, cool, with a trace of sweetness that clung to the back of his throat. When Bo-Ren finally poured the tea, it shimmered faintly, almost silver. "Drink," said Bo-Ren. "But do not speak." Liang lifted the cup. The first sip was like swallowing calm. The warmth spread slowly through his body, wrapping him in comfort. His thoughts, which usually fluttered like restless birds, began to settle, one by one, until there was only quiet. In that quiet, something beautiful happened. Liang could hear the world differently, the rhythm of the fire's breathing, the slow exhale of the wind, the heartbeat within his own chest echoing softly, perfectly in time with everything else. Bo-Ren smiled faintly. "Now you understand. The silent brew isn't for the tongue, it's for the soul. It teaches that peace cannot be chased. It must be brewed from stillness itself." Liang bowed his head in gratitude. For the first time in his life, silence no longer felt empty. It felt full, like the pause between heartbeats, or the hush before a dream begins. Bo-Ren looked toward the rising sun. "Go back to the garden, young one. Tell Mistress Yun that you have heard the silence of the moon herb. Your next lessons await you, not in herbs, but in harmony." As Liang walked back through the waking valley, the dew on the leaves sparkled like tiny mirrors of the dawn. The path was quiet, yet every sound, the rustle, the bird call, the soft hum of the wind, felt like part of one great, endless song. And for the first time, Liang did not rush. He walked slowly, silently, savoring the stillness within. By the time Liang returned to the garden of tranquil rest, the air was rich with the scent of rain. Clouds gathered lazily above the valley, drifting in slow circles like tired dragons seeking a place to sleep. The monks were sweeping fallen petals from the stone paths, their movements so graceful that it was hard to tell where the broom ended and the body began. Mistress Yun greeted Liang with her usual gentle smile. "So," she said, "you've been to see Bo-Ren, haven't you? The moon herb glows differently on those who've waited for it." Liang bowed. "He taught me silence, mistress. And patience. I think I finally understand how stillness feels." "Good," she said, setting down her broom. "Then you're ready for the next art, the art of touch." She led him into a quiet chamber near the eastern gate, where faint incense smoke coiled through the air. The room smelled of camphor, sandalwood, and river stones warmed by the sun. Soft mats were spread on the floor, and above them hung a scroll painted with a single word, peace. Before the herb, before the tea, before the dream, Mistress Yun said, there was touch. The body speaks a language older than thought, older than words. When pain, worry, or grief make the body tighten, sleep cannot find its way in. She motioned for Liang to sit. Then, she placed her hands lightly on his shoulders, not heavy, not firm, just there. The warmth of her palms spread slowly, as though his body was remembering something it had forgotten. "Your breath tells your story," she whispered. "Listen to it. Each inhale, each exhale, carries what you hold on to, and what you're ready to release." Her fingers traced the lines of his neck, his shoulders, the base of his spine. She moved not to fix, but to remind. The tension that had hidden there for years began to dissolve under her touch. It was as if the air itself was guiding her hands, like wind moving through grass. When she finished, Liang felt lighter, his head clear, his breath deep, his chest open. "Touch is the first medicine," she said softly. When a child cries, the mother does not brew a potion. She holds them. When a traveler is lost, the elder does not lecture. He places a hand on their shoulder. The world is healed first by touch, and only then by words. Liang bowed deeply. "Mistress Yun, will you teach me to heal this way?" She smiled. "In time. But you must first learn how to touch without seeking to fix, and to hold without clinging. When your hands carry peace, your presence will become medicine." Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall, tapping softly against the roof tiles. The sound was rhythmic, like a slow heartbeat. That night, as Liang listened to the rain, he realized something simple and profound. Peace didn't only live in silence or herbs, it also lived in connection. The touch of kindness, the warmth of another's hand, the gentle act of care. And when he finally lay down to rest, the rain sang him to sleep. The rain fell through the night, steady and slow, washing the garden in silver light. When morning came, the air smelled clean, like bamboo and stone after a dream. Liang woke early, his mind clear, his body lighter than it had ever felt. The lessons from Mistress Yun lingered in his hands, he could still feel the echo of her touch, the calm it had left behind. As he stepped into the courtyard, he saw Master Shen sitting under the old cedar tree, eyes closed, his fingers resting gently on his wrist. Liang bowed quietly, not wanting to disturb the stillness, but the master opened one eye and smiled. "Ah, young one," he said, "you've learned silence, patience, and the gentleness of touch. Now it's time to feel the river beneath your skin, the sleeping pulse." Liang approached, curious. "The sleeping pulse?" "Yes," said Master Shen. "Every living thing carries a rhythm. The pulse is the song of life itself. But when a person is burdened, by thought, fear, or sorrow, the rhythm stumbles. To sleep well, one must let the pulse find its own way back to harmony." He motioned for Liang to sit. "Place 2 fingers here," he said, guiding Liang's hand to his wrist. "Now close your eyes. Listen." Liang focused. At first, all he felt was warmth. Then, a faint beat. Soft, then strong, then soft again. It wasn't just a sound, it was movement, life in motion. Slowly, it began to feel as though the beat wasn't coming from Master Shen's wrist, but from the air around them. "The pulse," Master Shen said, "is not just in the body, it's in the rain, the wind, the sway of the trees. When your pulse matches the world's, sleep will find you without effort." He placed Liang's hand on his own chest. "Now, feel your own. Is it hurried or calm?" Liang listened to his heartbeat, quick, uncertain. He took a slow breath, then another. Gradually, it began to soften, to find rhythm with the rain outside. "Good," said Master Shen. "Now you understand why we walk slowly, why we breathe deeply, why we live gently. We are not meant to command the pulse. We are meant to join it." Liang felt warmth spread through his chest, not from movement, but from stillness. The beat of his heart felt like the quiet thrum of a drum played by the earth itself. When you touch another to heal, Master Shen continued, do not look for pain, look for rhythm. Feel where the music falters, and guide it back. Do this not with strength, but with presence. The rain softened, turning into mist. The garden shimmered with droplets hanging from every leaf. Liang opened his eyes. Master, I can feel it. The pulse isn't something I chase, it's something I return to. The master smiled, standing slowly. Exactly. And when you rest tonight, remember, the body breathes on its own, the heart beats on its own, and sleep comes on its own. The art is not to make it happen, but to stop interrupting it. As Master Shen walked away, his robes brushed against the wet earth, and Liang sat quietly under the cedar tree, his fingers still resting on his wrist. He felt the rhythm beneath his skin and realized, it wasn't just his heartbeat. It was the rhythm of the world itself, slow, kind, and eternal. That night, when Liang closed his eyes, he didn't try to sleep. He simply listened. And soon, his pulse and the world's pulse became one. Days passed in quiet harmony. The garden grew heavy with the scent of jasmine and wet stone. The river beyond the courtyard whispered to the wind, and every sound seemed to move with intention, soft, steady, eternal. Liang's nights had changed. Sleep came easily now, drifting in like mist through an open window. But the old master had one more lesson for him, a secret that, he said, could calm even the most restless spirit. One evening, as the sun folded itself behind the mountains, Master Shen called him into the hall of still water. The room was dimly lit by oil lamps, their golden glow dancing across scrolls and shelves. A long wooden table stood in the center, covered with bowls of herbs and small porcelain cups. The master motioned for Liang to sit. You have learned to listen with your breath, he said softly, and to feel with your pulse. Now, you must learn to speak, without words. Liang frowned slightly. Speak without words? Yes, said the master. With your hands. He lifted his palms slowly, showing Liang the lines that ran across them, deep, worn, ancient. Every healer carries the language of touch. But only when the hands move without thought can they truly whisper. He placed a small pebble on Liang's palm. Close your eyes. Feel this without naming it. Liang obeyed. The pebble was smooth, cool, and somehow alive beneath his fingers. His mind tried to describe it, round, cold, small, but then the master's voice interrupted his thoughts. Do not think. Feel. And suddenly, Liang understood. The pebble wasn't just a stone. It was part of something larger, the earth, the mountain, the breath of time itself. When you touch another being, the master continued, you touch the memory of the world. The body remembers kindness. It also remembers fear. Whisper through your hands, and the body will listen. He guided Liang's hands toward a small bowl of water. Now, he said, stir this without disturbing it. Liang hesitated, then gently dipped his fingers into the bowl. The water rippled, then settled. He moved again, slower this time, until the surface shifted without breaking. The reflection of the lamp above remained whole. Master Shen nodded. That, he said, is the whisper. When you can move the water without shaking it, you can calm a heart without speaking a word. Liang stayed still, watching the quiet circle form around his fingertips. He felt his breath slow, his thoughts fade. For a moment, it seemed as though his hands were no longer his own, they belonged to something deeper, something silent and vast. The master stepped behind him, placing a hand on Liang's shoulder. "Remember this," he said gently. "When your mind is loud, whisper through your hands. When your heart is restless, whisper through your breath. When the world feels heavy, whisper to it with silence." Outside, the crickets began their nightly song. The oil lamps flickered low. And as Liang bowed in gratitude, a strange peace filled the room, soft as moonlight, light as dust. That night, when he lay in bed, Liang placed one hand over his heart and one on his belly. He whispered, not with words, but with touch. And soon, sleep came, gentle, complete, and kind. Rain had visited the valley that morning, leaving the air cool and damp. The stones along the garden paths shimmered like tiny mirrors, and every leaf carried a trembling drop of light. The world smelled of wet bamboo, sweet plum blossoms, and distant thunder. When evening came, the monks lit lanterns shaped like lotus petals and placed them along the path leading toward the farthest edge of the garden, a place few ever visited. Liang followed their glow, each step taking him deeper into the quiet heart of the night. At the end of the path stood a small wooden house, simple yet elegant, with curved eaves and windows covered in thin rice paper. Steam curled from its roof like breath. A faded wooden sign above the doorway read, "The Dream Tea House." Liang pushed open the door. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of herbs, lavender, ginseng, and something unfamiliar, a fragrance that seemed to hum softly in the chest rather than the nose. The walls were lined with jars, each labeled in delicate brushstrokes. Memory blossoms. Moon petal. Silent dew. And one jar, sealed with red wax, bore no name at all. Behind the counter sat a woman, old, graceful, with silver hair coiled like a cloud around her head. Her eyes were half closed, as though she saw more in dreams than in the waking world. "You must be the boy who walks with the night," she said, her voice thin and musical. Liang bowed respectfully. "I came to learn the tea of dreams." The woman smiled faintly. "No one learns dream tea," she said. "It teaches you." She rose slowly and took down the unmarked jar. Breaking the seal, she let the scent drift through the air. It smelled of rain, dust, and faintly, of tears. "This tea," she said, "is made from the leaves that fall only in dreams. We gather them not with hands, but with memory. Every cup carries a story. Every sip invites sleep to speak." She scooped a small handful of shimmering petals into a pot, then poured steaming water over them. The color bloomed like dawn spreading through mist. As the tea steeped, the woman leaned closer to Liang. "When you drink, do not wish for rest," she whispered. "Wish for remembrance. For even dreams are lessons we forget too quickly." Liang took the cup with both hands. The surface rippled once, then stilled. He lifted it to his lips and drank. The taste was unlike anything he'd known, sweet, but not from sugar, warm, but not from heat. It reminded him of the first morning he'd ever woken without fear. The world began to shift. The sound of rain faded. The walls of the tea house turned translucent, as though made of mist. And from the steam rising above his cup, shapes began to form, faint, glowing silhouettes of people, animals, stars. The woman's voice echoed softly. Do not chase them, child. Let them come to you. Liang closed his eyes. And suddenly, he was standing beneath a moon that felt alive. He saw his younger self chasing fireflies. He saw Master Shen planting seeds beside the river. He saw dreams that didn't belong to him, 1,000 faces, all sleeping, all breathing together beneath one vast, endless sky. Then, just as gently, it all faded. When Liang opened his eyes, the old woman was gone. Only the teacup remained, empty and warm in his hands. Outside, the first stars appeared through the mist. He set the cup down, bowed to the silence, and whispered to the night. Thank you. The morning after the dream tea house, the world seemed slower. Even the birds sang softer, as if afraid to wake the dream still floating in the air. The mist hung low over the valley, wrapping every stone, every blade of grass, in silver quiet. Liang sat beneath the same plum tree where his journey had begun. In his hands, he held the empty teacup he had brought back from the tea house, plain, porcelain, unremarkable. And yet, when he looked at it, it shimmered faintly in the sunlight, like the memory of moonlight still clinging to its surface. He turned the cup over. Inside, at the bottom, was a single faint line, not carved, but written, as though by the steam itself. It read, Dreams do not fade. We simply stop listening. Liang frowned softly. Dreams, remember us, he whispered. The garden answered with the faint rustle of bamboo leaves. Master Shen appeared beside him, walking slowly, his robes whispering against the grass. Ah, he said, noticing the cup. So you've met the dreamkeeper? The woman in the tea house? Liang asked. She said the tea teaches. The old master smiled. And what did it teach you? Liang hesitated. That dreams are not escape. They are echoes. They show what we forget to see when we are awake. Shen nodded approvingly. Good. The ancients believed that when we sleep, the soul leaves the body to wander the fields of memory. There, it collects fragments, feelings, faces, moments, and returns them as dreams. The tea of remembrance helps us see what the heart hides. Liang looked again into the cup. So, it isn't about sleep. It is, said the master, but not the kind you think. Sleep is not just rest, Liang. It is trust. The moment the body lets go of control, that is when the spirit begins to heal. He pointed toward the horizon where morning clouds rolled like waves. There will be days when the world feels too loud to sleep. When fear hums in your bones. That is when you must remember the taste of the tea, the warmth, the quiet, the peace. Even if you have no cup, carry its memory in your breath. Liang closed his eyes, imagining the flavor of that strange, glowing tea. He could still feel its calm spreading through his veins, like gentle music under his skin. Master, he said softly, do you dream? Master Shen chuckled. Only of silence. They both laughed quietly, the kind of laughter that comes when everything finally feels still. The master turned to leave, but paused. The dreamkeeper will come again, he said. Not in waking, but in your sleep. When she does, ask her not for answers, but for calm. As the old man walked away, Liang felt something stir in his chest, not fear, not curiosity, but a deep, glowing peace. The kind that makes you close your eyes and simply breathe. He lay back beneath the plum tree. The wind brushed against his face like silk. Somewhere far away, a bell chimed softly. And before he realized it, he was dreaming again. The dream began the way all peaceful dreams begin, without a beginning at all. Liang found himself standing on a narrow bridge made of pale wood. Beneath it flowed not water, but a slow-moving mist that shimmered like liquid moonlight. The air was cool and heavy, filled with the sound of a distant flute, though no musician could be seen. He looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly, as if carrying the last traces of candlelight from a forgotten room. Ahead, across the bridge, he saw something, or perhaps someone. A silhouette wrapped in flowing white robes, hair drifting like smoke. It was her, the woman from the dream tea house. She stood quietly, watching him. "You came back," she said, her voice echoing through the mist as though spoken through water. Liang nodded. "I didn't mean to. I just fell asleep." Her lips curved into a gentle smile. "That's how all journeys worth taking begin, by surrender." He took a step forward, and the bridge creaked softly beneath his feet. "What is this place?" "The bridge between dreams," she replied. "It lies between memory and forgetting. Those who cross it learn why they cannot rest." Liang's brow furrowed. "And if they cross to the other side?" "They remember peace," she said simply. The mist swirled gently around them, forming shapes, moments from Liang's life. His mother laughing. His first night in the monastery. The cold mornings when he doubted himself. He paused, watching these visions flicker and fade like lanterns floating down a river. "Why do they hurt?" he whispered. "Because they're unfinished," the woman said. "Dreams are how the heart completes what the mind interrupts." She moved closer, her feet not touching the wood, her gaze soft and ancient. "You've learned to breathe, to walk, to whisper through your hands. But now, you must learn to let go." Liang hesitated. "Let go of what?" She reached out and gently placed her palm over his heart. "Of holding on." For a moment, the world stopped. The mist brightened. Liang's heart slowed until it matched the rhythm of the dream itself, steady, quiet, infinite. He felt tears form at the corners of his eyes, not from sadness, but from release. All the years of trying, fearing, doubting, they slipped away like sand through his fingers. The woman's voice became softer, almost like a song. "When you wake, you will not remember all of this. But your body will. Every peaceful night begins in surrender." And then, as if the dream itself was exhaling, the bridge began to fade. The mist lifted, and Liang felt himself falling, not down, but inward. He landed in warmth, his bed, his breath, the still air of early dawn. Outside, the first light of morning touched the mountains. The river whispered below. And though his eyes were open, part of him still walked that quiet bridge, listening to the echo of her words. Every peaceful night begins, in surrender. The morning light slid gently through the paper windows, painting long stripes of gold across the floor. Outside, dew clung to every blade of grass, and the sound of water trickling from the stone fountain filled the air with rhythm, steady, soft, alive. Liang awoke with a calm he could not name. The memory of the bridge lingered faintly in his chest, like the echo of a song long after the last note has been played. His breath was slow, deep, and quiet, the kind of breathing that feels like it belongs to the earth itself. He rose from his bed, wrapped his robe tighter, and stepped out into the cool morning. The world smelled of wet leaves and jasmine. The other monks were already awake, their figures gliding silently through the garden, tending to flowers, sweeping the stone paths, lighting incense. Master Shen stood by the koi pond, watching the orange fish ripple through still water. "You slept well," he said without turning. Liang bowed. "Yes, Master. I dreamed again." Shen smiled faintly. "Then you are beginning to listen." He gestured toward the pond. "Come. Today you will learn the oldest medicine known to our people, the healing breath." Liang knelt beside him. The master's voice lowered, soft as the wind moving through bamboo. "The body," Shen began, "is a garden. The breath is its water. Without balance, no flower can bloom, not even sleep." He lifted his hand to his chest and inhaled slowly. Liang watched as the old man's shoulders rose and fell in perfect rhythm, like waves on a calm sea. "Breathe in," Shen instructed, "not with your lungs, but with your whole being. Let the breath travel down to your belly, into your bones, through your heart. Do not take air, receive it." Liang followed his guidance. The first breath trembled, the second was steadier, the third was different. It felt fuller, rounder, almost luminous. He felt warmth spreading through his body, not heat, but energy, gentle and deep. The master nodded. "Good. Now, exhale, as though you are letting go of smoke from a fire that has burned too long." Liang breathed out slowly. His shoulders softened. His heartbeat slowed. He could feel something uncoiling inside him, tension he hadn't known he carried. Master Shen continued, "Each breath is a story. Inhale the present. Exhale the past. When your breath becomes smooth, your thoughts will follow." The two of them sat in silence, breathing together. Minutes passed, or maybe hours, it was impossible to tell. Time itself seemed to pause, listening. Then Shen said, almost in a whisper, "When you cannot sleep, it is not because your body is restless. It is because your breath has forgotten the way home." Liang opened his eyes. The koi pond shimmered like liquid glass. Each ripple reflected the sky. He felt lighter, not from rest, but from release. The master placed a hand on his back. "Remember, Liang. To heal another, first breathe for yourself. To bring peace to the world, first find peace within." The sound of a temple bell drifted through the valley. The day had begun, yet somehow, everything felt still. Liang closed his eyes one more time and took a single, deliberate breath. It filled him like light filling an empty room. And in that moment, the boundary between waking and dreaming disappeared completely. The path to the mountain began where the garden ended, a narrow trail carved by centuries of patient footsteps. The monks called it the path of air, for it wound upward through clouds and silence, a place where breath could be seen as mist. Master Shen had sent Liang alone this time. "Go," he had said at dawn, handing him a small bamboo flask. "Climb until you hear the mountain breathe." The morning was soft, filled with drifting fog. Liang's feet brushed against damp grass, his robes heavy with dew. Every step felt deliberate, like part of a ritual written by time itself. As he climbed higher, the sounds of the monastery faded, no bells, no voices, only the whisper of wind moving through the pine trees. The air grew thinner, but cleaner, purer. Each breath filled him with something more than oxygen, something ancient, invisible, and alive. At one turn, he stopped to rest. Before him stretched a vast valley wrapped in layers of mist. Rivers shimmered faintly like silver threads. The sky was pale and endless. He closed his eyes and listened. It wasn't silence he heard, it was rhythm. A deep, slow pulse echoing through everything, the wind, the trees, the stone beneath his feet. The mountain was breathing. He placed a hand on his chest and matched its rhythm. Inhale, the rise of the valley fog. Exhale, the settling of the mist upon the fields below. It was perfect harmony. The wind brushed against his face like a cool hand. It seemed to whisper, "You are not separate from me." Liang smiled. He understood now. The air he breathed had once touched every mountain, every river, every living thing. The world was breathing through him, and he through it. He sat cross-legged on a flat rock and began to practice the healing breath Master Shen had shown him. But this time, it was different. He was not doing it, he was being it. Each inhale carried the scent of pine and rain. Each exhale softened the world a little more. His body grew still. His thoughts floated away like fallen petals. Hours passed unnoticed. The sun drifted across the sky, then dipped behind the peaks. The first stars appeared, trembling in the thin air. Liang remained motionless, breathing with the mountain. When he finally opened his eyes, night had fallen completely. The mist below glowed with moonlight, a sea of silver waves. For a moment, it looked like the bridge from his dreams, endless, luminous, and silent. He whispered into the wind, "I hear you." And somewhere deep within the mountain, a low hum answered, not in words, but in feeling. Liang smiled, his eyes heavy with peace. He lay down on the rock, wrapped his robe tighter, and closed his eyes. The mountain's breath became his lullaby. When dawn came, he was still there, resting, breathing, dreaming, and utterly still. When Liang descended from the mountain, the world below felt different, softer, slower, and somehow wider. Every sound carried a pulse he hadn't noticed before, the whisper of wind through bamboo, the crackle of a lantern wick, even the quiet hum of his own heartbeat. It was all one rhythm, one long, continuous breath shared by everything alive. By dusk, he reached the river that ran along the edge of the monastery. The monks called it the sleeping dragon because it curved gently through the valley, winding like a creature resting in peace. Its surface glimmered with the reflection of lanterns drifting from the temple above, small circles of fire floating on the water. Liang knelt at the riverbank and touched the surface lightly with his fingertips. The water was cool, alive, and endlessly moving. It flowed around pebbles, branches, and roots, never fighting, never stopping, only adjusting. Like the breath, he whispered. He remembered Master Shen's words. The body is a garden, the breath its water. But even rivers must learn how to bend. He took a deep inhale, matching it to the slow movement of the current. When he exhaled, ripples spread across the water, reaching far beyond his reflection. A dragonfly landed on his knee, still, delicate, perfectly balanced. Its wings caught the fading light like glass. Liang didn't move. The river, the dragonfly, the air, all breathed together. He realized then that he had never truly understood stillness. It wasn't the absence of movement. It was the harmony of it. Everything flowed, and in that flow was peace. As the night deepened, he filled his flask from the river, its water faintly shimmering under the moon. When he stood, he felt lighter, as if the current had taken something from him, an old heaviness, a forgotten worry. He looked up at the stars. "Thank you," he murmured. The wind answered, brushing softly through the reeds. The water glowed where the lanterns touched it, each light carrying a reflection of the moon. When Liang returned to the monastery, Master Shen was waiting at the gate, holding a candle. "You've brought something back," the master said, smiling at the flask. "Yes," Liang replied. "But I think the river took more than it gave." Shen nodded. "That is what all healing does." They walked together in silence. The sound of the river followed them, a lullaby of flowing breath and endless calm. That night, when Liang lay down to sleep, he placed the flask beside his bed. The faint trickle of water inside matched the rhythm of his heart. And as his eyes closed, he imagined the whole world breathing with him, slow, steady, eternal. The last thing he heard before drifting into dreams was the river's voice. "Flow, even when the world stands still." The days that followed were filled with quiet purpose. The monastery had grown still, as though it too had fallen into a gentle, waking dream. Morning bells rang softer, footsteps echoed slower, and even the wind seemed to pause between breaths. Liang had returned from the mountain changed. His movements were lighter, his eyes calmer, and his presence, peaceful. The other monks noticed it first, the way his voice carried ease, the way his silence brought calm. One evening, as twilight painted the garden in shades of violet and gold, a young monk approached him. The boy's name was Wei. He was barely 15 and had not slept in many nights. "Brother Liang," he said softly, "my dreams chase me. Even when I close my eyes, I cannot rest." Liang smiled gently. "Then perhaps your dreams are not chasing you, Wei. Perhaps they're trying to speak." He led the boy to the same plum tree where he had once learned to breathe. The air was cool, filled with the faint scent of tea leaves drying in the courtyard. "Sit," Liang said, and Wei obeyed. "Close your eyes," Liang continued. "Do not fight your thoughts. Let them drift, like petals on water." Wei's breathing was fast, uneven. Liang placed a hand on his shoulder. "Breathe with me," he said softly. Together, they inhaled, slow, deep, and steady. Then exhaled, letting the air leave without effort. Again. And again. Each breath drew the night closer around them. Crickets began their song. The garden pulsed with life, with rhythm. When Wei's body finally softened, Liang whispered, "Now, imagine a small lantern glowing in your chest. Each time you breathe in, it grows brighter. Each time you breathe out, it releases warmth." Wei's breath steadied. His shoulders dropped. His face relaxed. Liang smiled. "That's it," he said. "You are not broken. You are just tired. And tiredness is not weakness, it is the body asking to be seen." For the first time in weeks, Wei's eyes fluttered shut completely. He leaned gently against the tree and fell asleep, not forced, not frightened, but naturally, peacefully. Liang stayed beside him for a long time, watching the lantern sway in the night breeze. He thought of his own sleepless nights, of the bridge, of the dreamkeeper's voice whispering through the mist. Now he understood, the true healer was not the one who cured, but the one who calmed. When Master Shen appeared at the edge of the path, he said nothing. He only smiled, seeing Wei asleep beside Liang, and nodded in quiet approval. Later, as the moon climbed above the valley, Liang whispered to himself. Perhaps peace was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was always meant to be shared. The river murmured softly in reply, and the night folded itself gently around them both. It was late summer when Liang first heard of the sleepless child. The village below the monastery had been restless for weeks, their crops needed rain, their nights were heavy with humidity, and the sound of insects filled every hour. Yet amidst all the murmurs of nature, one cry echoed louder than the rest, a little girl who could not sleep. Her name was Mei. She was 8 years old, small as a sparrow, with eyes too big for her face and a voice that trembled whenever dusk arrived. Her parents had tried everything, sweet herbal teas, songs, even talismans tied above her bed, but nothing could quiet her racing thoughts. She says the shadows whisper, her mother told Liang when he arrived at their humble home. She says the dark breathes. Liang nodded. He had once felt the same, that unseen pulse in the night, the way silence can sound too loud. Let me sit with her, he said gently. The mother hesitated, then stepped aside. The house was small and filled with the warm scent of rice and jasmine. In the corner, Mei sat curled on her bed, hugging a small cloth rabbit, her eyelids heavy but her mind wide awake. Liang knelt beside her. Hello, Mei, he whispered. She blinked at him. Are you the monk from the mountain? He smiled softly. Yes. And I hear you haven't been sleeping. Mei frowned. When I close my eyes, I see things. The dark looks alive. Liang nodded. Do you know what darkness really is? She shook her head. It's not a monster, he said. It's just the sky resting. Even light needs to sleep. She tilted her head. The sky sleeps? Yes, Liang replied. Every night it closes its bright eyes, and in the morning, it wakes again, fresh, calm, and full of sunshine. Mei's little shoulders eased a bit. Would you like to learn how to sleep like the sky? He asked. She nodded, clutching her rabbit closer. Liang took a slow breath and began to hum, a soft, rhythmic sound, like wind moving through bamboo. The melody was ancient, passed down from healer to healer. With each note, the room felt warmer, heavier, safer. Now, Liang whispered, breathe with me. In, and out, like the tides of the ocean. Mei's eyes fluttered as her small chest rose and fell. The shadows on the wall began to blur into soft shapes, no longer frightening, just a part of the night. Good, he said. Now, imagine your worries are little paper boats. One by one, you place them on a gentle river. Watch them drift away. Don't chase them, just let them go. Her grip on the rabbit loosened. Liang continued his lullaby, quiet, steady, ancient. When he finally fell silent, Mei's breathing had slowed. Her head rested against her pillow, her lashes still glistening with a few tears, but her mouth curved into the faintest smile. She was asleep. Deeply, peacefully asleep. Outside, rain began to fall, soft, patient, long awaited. The dry earth drank it eagerly. Liang looked toward the door, where Mei's mother stood silently, her hands pressed together in gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. Liang smiled. "No need. She healed herself. I only reminded her how." As he stepped into the rain, he looked toward the distant monastery lights shimmering through the mist. In his heart, a quiet truth settled, that even the smallest act of peace could ripple into the world like a drop in still water. And somewhere behind him, a child dreamed for the first time in many nights. The monastery was changing. It wasn't loud or sudden, it was gentle, like spring slowly waking from winter. The monks spoke softer. The nights felt lighter. And the sound of sleepless footsteps, once so common, began to fade. Liang spent more time in the garden now. The old plum tree had become his place of peace, where he would sit for hours, listening to the world breathe. But as he watched others struggle with their restlessness, he began to wonder, could peace be shared in more ways than words? One evening, under a silver moon, Liang gathered the other monks. "I want to build a place," he said quietly, "for those who cannot sleep. A place where the body and soul can remember calm." The monks exchanged looks. "A shrine?" one asked. "No," Liang smiled. "A garden. A living lullaby." And so they began. By day, they worked with silent devotion, planting herbs that released soft scents into the air, lavender, jasmine, and snow chrysanthemum. They hung paper lanterns from the trees, each one carrying a wish written by a sleepless traveler. By night, they filled the garden with music, bamboo chimes that sang to the wind, small bells that whispered like laughter in dreams. The air shimmered with the warmth of candlelight and the murmur of distant prayer. Soon, word spread through the valleys, of a garden where no one stayed awake against their will. Farmers came after long days of work. Mothers brought crying children. Travelers paused on their journeys just to rest beneath the lantern glow. And always, when they left, they smiled softly, lighter than when they came. Liang never asked for thanks. He only walked among them, lighting new lanterns, whispering the same quiet words. "Breathe in, peace. Breathe out, release." One night, as mist rolled in from the river, Liang sat beneath the oldest lantern, the first one he had lit himself. The flame flickered, painting his face in golden warmth. Master Shen appeared beside him, silent for a long while before speaking. "You've turned the garden into a mirror of the soul," he said. "People see their own stillness here." Liang bowed his head. "It isn't mine, Master. It belongs to everyone who seeks rest." The elder monk nodded. "And you? Have you found yours?" Liang looked at the lantern's glow, steady, unwavering. "For now," he said, smiling faintly. "But peace is a river, not a stone. It flows. It changes." Above them, hundreds of lanterns swayed, their light drifting upward like stars escaping gravity. For a moment, it was impossible to tell where the earth ended and the heavens began. And in that stillness, that perfect, endless quiet, even the night seemed to fall asleep. Autumn drifted quietly into the valley. Leaves turned gold and crimson, falling like slow-moving embers through the mountain air. The monastery's garden, once bright with lanterns, now glowed in softer hues, its beauty quieter, more mature. Liang walked through the garden paths each morning, feeling the change in the wind. Fewer travelers came now, the world beyond the mountains was changing. People spoke of new medicines, new ways to heal. The ancient traditions, the teas, the breathing, the stillness, were being forgotten. He didn't resent it. But he felt a sadness, deep and patient, like an echo. One afternoon, while cleaning the scroll room, Liang found something wedged behind a cracked wooden chest, a parchment so old it flaked under his fingertips. The ink had faded, but he could still make out the first few lines. The sleep that heals is not of the body but of the spirit. When the heart forgets how to dream, the body forgets how to rest. The scroll spoke of a lost practice, a tea brewed from a flower that only bloomed once every 100 years under the full autumn moon. The monks once called it the moon blossom. Its fragrance, they said, could quiet even the loudest mind. But the recipe was incomplete. The final ingredient, the one that made the tea whole, was missing. Liang felt a stir of curiosity he hadn't felt in years. Could the blossom still exist? Could the remedy still be found? That night, he took his lantern and went to speak with Master Shen. The elder monk sat by the river, staring into the dark water as if reading the stars in its reflection. "Master," Liang said softly, holding out the brittle scroll. "Have you ever heard of the moon blossom?" Shen's eyes opened slowly. "Ah," he whispered. "That name belongs to another lifetime. You know it?" "I do," Shen said. "But few remember. The last of those flowers bloomed before I was born. It was said to grow only where the mountain meets the sea, in a garden of mist that no map can show." Liang bowed his head. "Then perhaps it's time someone looked for it." The old monk smiled, the wrinkles around his eyes deepening. "The world forgets quickly, Liang. But the mountains remember. If you go, go not to bring back a flower, but to bring back what it meant." Liang nodded, feeling the truth settle in him like quiet rain. That night, he packed lightly, a small satchel, a flask of tea, and the old scroll tied with silk. Before dawn, he stood at the monastery gates, looking down the winding path that disappeared into mist. He touched the wooden frame of the gate and whispered, "May those who sleep here always dream kindly." Then he began to walk, one step, then another, into the silence of the mountains, where forgotten remedies and ancient whispers waited beneath the turning leaves. And as he went, the first light of morning painted the peaks in gold, as if blessing the start of a new journey. For 3 days, Liang walked through the mountain paths. The air grew thinner, the trees taller, and the silence deeper with every step. Mist hung low over the ground, curling around his feet like pale ribbons. Sometimes he thought he heard whispers in the fog, not frightening, just curious, as if the mountains themselves were wondering who he was. He carried no map. Only instinct guided him, and the soft pull of something unseen. The old scroll rested against his chest, its fragile paper humming faintly, as though remembering the world it once knew. By the 4th day, the path vanished completely. Liang stood before a sea of white mist, so dense that the sky disappeared. He could see nothing, not even his own shadow. He closed his eyes, took a slow breath, and listened. The wind shifted, a faint sound, like wind chimes in the distance. He followed it. The ground grew soft beneath his feet. The air filled with a sweet, unfamiliar scent, not of herbs or flowers he knew, but something cleaner, lighter. And then, slowly, the mist began to thin. He stepped through it and found himself standing in a valley that shouldn't have existed. The sun filtered through clouds like liquid gold. Streams of silver water ran through fields of tall grass. And everywhere, floating on the air like tiny lanterns, were flowers. Their petals were pale blue, almost transparent, and they shimmered like glass when the wind touched them. The entire valley glowed faintly, alive with quiet magic. Liang fell to his knees, awed. "The Garden of Mist," he whispered. He reached toward one of the blossoms, but as his fingers brushed its edge, it vanished, dissolving into soft light, leaving only the faintest trace of fragrance. It wasn't real. Or rather, not real in the way the waking world was. It existed between worlds, between breath and dream. He remembered the old monk's words, "Go not to bring back a flower, but to bring back what it meant." Liang closed his eyes and sat cross-legged among the glowing air. He slowed his breathing until he could feel the rhythm of the valley itself, the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. In that stillness, he saw memories not his own. A healer from centuries ago, mixing petals into a pot of steaming water. A mother placing the tea beside her child's bed. A man sitting under a tree, watching dawn rise after his first night of peaceful sleep. The moon blossom had never been a cure, it was a reminder. A symbol of stillness, of surrender. A bridge between the restless and the calm. When Liang opened his eyes again, the valley was fading. The flowers dissolved back into mist, and the light dimmed. But in his palm lay one single petal, faintly glowing, soft as breath. He smiled. He didn't need the whole flower. He only needed the lesson it carried. As he turned back toward the mountains, the mist parted, showing him the way. Each step felt lighter, as if the world itself was walking beside him. And far behind him, hidden in the clouds, the valley returned to its dreaming silence, waiting for the next seeker to listen. When Liang descended from the mountains, the world felt new. The same trails he had walked days ago now shimmered with gentle light, as though every leaf, every stone, had been touched by something sacred. The air was cooler, thinner, and yet, it felt easier to breathe. He carried only one thing in his hand, the single petal from the Garden of Mist. It no longer glowed as brightly as before, but it pulsed faintly, warm against his palm, a quiet reminder that peace did not fade, it only changed form. By the time he reached the monastery gates, dusk had settled across the valley. Lanterns glimmered along the garden path, their flames flickering in the soft wind. The scent of tea drifted through the air, familiar, comforting, home. The younger monks greeted him with quiet smiles. "Brother Liang," they whispered, "the master has been waiting." He found Master Shen beneath the old plum tree, exactly where he had left him. The elder monk was pouring tea into 2 small cups, as though he had known Liang would return that very night. "You've been gone a long time," Shen said, handing him a cup. Liang bowed his head. "The mountains taught me slowly." The master smiled. "And what did they teach?" Liang opened his palm. The petal lay there, fragile, barely visible now. "That the remedy was never the flower," he said. "It was the stillness it carried." Shen nodded approvingly. "The true medicine is remembrance. Not of pain, but of peace." They drank their tea in silence. The night hummed softly, crickets, wind, the faint echo of a temple bell. After a long while, Liang spoke again. "I saw a valley that wasn't real," he said. "A place made of mist and memory. I think it lives inside all of us, waiting for when we forget how to rest. The master smiled. Then remember it often. And teach others how to find theirs. Liang looked toward the lanterns swaying in the dark. Each one flickered like a heartbeat, hundreds of small flames, each belonging to someone who had once struggled to sleep. He stood and walked into the garden, placing the moon blossom petal at the base of the plum tree. The wind carried it gently upward, scattering it like dust into the night. As it vanished, the air grew warmer. The chimes rang softly on their own, and for just a moment, the faint glow of 1,000 unseen blossoms shimmered through the garden, as if the valley in the mist had followed him home. That night, everyone in the monastery slept deeply. Even those who hadn't slept in years. And as Liang closed his eyes, he whispered to the quiet sky. Peace is not something we seek. It's something that remembers us when we stop running. Then the world fell silent. And the mountain, at last, slept too. The wind carried the scent of pine and wet soil as Liang left the monastery once more, this time not as a seeker, but as a teacher. He did not look back. He didn't need to. The mountain would always be there, breathing, watching, remembering. His path wound through long valleys, across rivers, and into the soft hum of villages waking with dawn. Everywhere he went, he saw the same signs of restlessness, tired faces, sleepless eyes, hearts that beat too fast from worry. But he also saw hope. In every town square, someone brewed tea at sunrise. In every home, someone whispered a quiet prayer before sleep. The spirit of peace, though faint, still lived among the people. Liang began to share what he had learned, not through sermons or books, but through presence. In one village, he sat with an old fisherman whose hands trembled from years at sea. The man said he hadn't dreamed since his wife passed away. Liang listened without interrupting. Then, under the starlight, he taught the man to breathe with the rhythm of the waves, in as the tide came, out as it left. By morning, the old fisherman was asleep, a faint smile on his face. In another town, Liang visited a school. The children there were afraid of the dark, their nights filled with wild stories of spirits and monsters. So Liang gathered them under a fig tree and told them the tale of the sky that sleeps, how even the sun must close its eyes to be reborn each day. That night, the teachers said the children slept soundly for the first time in weeks. Word spread quietly. They began to call him the monk of gentle nights. He refused gifts, refused gold. All I ask, he'd say, is that you pass the peace forward. And so it grew, not a legend, but a lullaby carried from mouth to mouth, from heart to heart. As the years passed, Liang's hair began to turn silver. His steps slowed, but his spirit only deepened. The world had changed, louder, busier, faster, but wherever he went, the stillness followed him. One evening, as he crossed a small bridge over a quiet stream, a little girl tugged at his robe. "Are you the monk who teaches people to sleep?" she asked. Liang smiled. "Not exactly," he said. "I just remind them how to listen." "To what?" "To the silence," he said softly. "It knows the way home." The girl nodded seriously, as if she understood something most adults had forgotten. And as Liang continued down the path, the sun dipped below the hills, leaving behind a sky brushed with gold, a sky ready to rest. That night, beneath a canopy of stars, Liang sat beside the stream, closed his eyes, and breathed in the rhythm of the world, slow, steady, eternal. The sleeper's path had no end. It was every road, every dream, every heartbeat that chose stillness over struggle. And so he walked on, carrying peace where it was most forgotten, and finding it, always, waiting to be remembered. By the time Liang reached the city of Qian, the sky had lost its stars. The streets glowed with endless lanterns, hundreds, thousands of them, hung from shops, bridges, even trees. It was beautiful, yes, but strangely exhausting. The city never slept. Merchants shouted through the night, calling for buyers long after the moon had risen. Workers hammered metal in workshops lit by roaring fires. Even children ran in the alleys, their laughter echoing under the restless hum of commerce. Liang watched in silence as he entered through the city gate. He could feel it in the air, the tension, the fatigue behind every forced smile. The people of Qian were proud of their sleeplessness. They called it progress. He stopped at a tea house near the central square. The owner, a kind-faced woman with dark circles beneath her eyes, poured him a cup of jasmine tea. "You look tired, traveler," she said with a weary smile. "I could say the same for you," Liang replied gently. She laughed softly. "Sleep is for those who can afford to stop. Here, the city runs even while the stars rest." He nodded. "And do you rest?" The woman hesitated. "When I close my eyes, I only see noise," she said. "My dreams feel louder than the streets." Liang set his cup down and looked out at the glowing city. "Then perhaps," he said, "you've forgotten what darkness sounds like." That evening, he asked her for a small favor, to turn off the lanterns in her tea house after closing. "Just for one night," he said. "And listen." She agreed, though unsure why. When midnight came, Liang extinguished the final flame. The tea house fell into shadow. At first, it was uncomfortable. The woman fidgeted. The silence felt heavy, the air too still. But then, a shift. Beneath the noise of her thoughts, she began to hear other things, the faint chirp of a night insect, the wind brushing the wooden walls, the gentle rhythm of her own breath. Liang spoke softly. "This is what sleep sounds like before it arrives. The world has to quiet down first." She closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. Her shoulders lowered. By the time dawn's first light crept into the room, she was asleep, head resting on the table, face calm for the first time in years. When she woke, Liang was gone. But on the counter, she found a small note written in neat calligraphy. "Darkness is not the absence of life. It is the world remembering how to rest." Days later, others in Qian began to hear the story of the traveler who could teach sleep. The tea house owner shared what she'd learned, and soon, more lanterns went dark. Within a week, the city had grown quieter. Not silent, just softer. Children slept earlier. The blacksmith stopped hammering past midnight. Even the merchants began closing their shops before dawn. And for the first time in generations, when the moon rose above Qian, the stars returned, shimmering faintly in the new darkness. A full moon hung above Qian, pale and endless, washing the rooftops with silver. For the first time in decades, the city wasn't burning itself awake. The lanterns were dim, the streets hushed, and a strange softness filled the air, like the city itself was breathing again. It began with one woman and her tea house. Every evening after sunset, she turned off her lanterns, poured a single cup of jasmine tea, and sat quietly, listening to the sound of night returning. Some called her eccentric. Others called her wise. But slowly, people began to understand. By the time spring came, the city's council gathered in the square to discuss something unprecedented, a festival without sound. They would call it the Festival of Stillness. At first, the idea seemed absurd. No music, said one merchant. No fireworks, asked another. No dancing, no shouting, no trade. The council leader, a wrinkled man named Fei, looked toward the stars above. For one night, he said, we will honor silence, not as emptiness, but as a form of rest. Let the city remember its heartbeat. Liang returned to Qian that same week, walking through the gates as preparations began. He saw children painting small wooden signs that read "Quiet tonight." He saw bakers setting aside bread for morning rather than selling through the night. When he passed the tea house, the owner ran to greet him, her face bright. "You came back," she said, her voice trembling. "You started something, and now, they all believe." Liang smiled. "No. You listened first. The city only followed your silence." That night, as the moon reached its highest point, every flame in Qian was extinguished. No singing. No drums. No markets. No clatter of tools. Only stillness, vast and gentle. The people sat outside their homes, families gathered together, eyes lifted toward the heavens. For the first time in living memory, the sky was full of stars again. They shimmered like forgotten memories, soft and endless. Some wept. Others laughed quietly. Children whispered wishes into the dark. Liang stood by the riverbank, the cool water brushing his toes, and watched the reflection of a sleeping city ripple in the current. He closed his eyes, whispering to himself. Even light must rest, so it can shine again. When dawn returned, the first rays of sunlight touched Qian like a blessing. And from that day forward, the Festival of Stillness became a yearly tradition, a single night where no one worked, no one sold, no one performed. Instead, the people of Qian sat in silence, hearts beating in rhythm with the sleeping earth. Liang never stayed for long. He left before the morning crowd returned, leaving behind only footprints by the river and a folded note on the teahouse counter. It read, "When silence is shared, it becomes music." The teahouse woman framed it beside her door. And every night after that, when she blew out the last candle, she whispered his words into the dark, as if the city itself might be listening. The first rays of morning reached across the valley like fingers of light, brushing away the last threads of night. The mist rolled back from the fields of Qian, revealing the sleeping city below, rooftops still glistening with dew, alleys silvered by silence. Liang stood on the hill above the city, his traveling cloak pulled close. He had been awake since before dawn, not restless, but alert, the kind of still wakefulness that comes when one has made peace with something deep inside. The Festival of Stillness had ended hours ago, yet its quiet lingered in the air like perfume. Even the birds sang softer. Liang watched the smoke rise from a distant chimney and smiled faintly. The city had changed, not just in habit, but in heart. The people had rediscovered what the monks of Yuelin Temple had always known, that rest is not the absence of life, but its renewal. He took a slow breath, the scent of blooming jasmine drifting on the wind. It reminded him of the herbal hall, of Mistress Yun and her teachings, of long nights blending roots and petals under the watch of the moon. He could almost hear her voice again. Sleep, Liang, is not surrender. It is remembering who you are when the world stops asking. He adjusted his satchel and began his descent down the hill, past fields where farmers were just waking. Some of them recognized him and waved, the quiet traveler who had once spoken of dreams and silence. When he reached the city gate, an old guard greeted him. Leaving again, the guard asked, leaning on his spear. Liang nodded. There are other places that have forgotten how to rest. The guard chuckled softly. And you? Haven't you earned your own rest yet? Liang smiled, his eyes drifting to the pale horizon. Rest will find me when I stop looking for it. He stepped through the gates, his sandals crunching softly on the dirt road. The sunlight warmed his back. In the distance, he could see the faint outline of the mountains where Yuelin Temple stood, the place where his journey had begun. He felt no rush to arrive. Every step was its own kind of meditation, every breath its own prayer. By midday, he reached the foot of the mountains. The wind carried the scent of pine and rain-soaked stone. It was as though the mountain itself was breathing, welcoming him home. He found a small brook, its water clear and cool. Kneeling beside it, he cupped his hands and drank. The taste of the mountain was pure and familiar, the flavor of beginnings. As the sun drifted west, Liang looked up the narrow path winding through the forest. It was the same trail he had taken so long ago, but now, it seemed shorter. Or perhaps, he thought, his heart had simply grown lighter. He whispered to himself. Even after the longest night, dawn always remembers the way. And with that, Liang began to climb once more, toward Yuelin Temple, toward the sound of wind through bamboo, toward the place where silence had first taught him how to listen. The stone steps wound upward through the mist like a staircase into memory. Liang's feet moved without hurry, tracing each familiar bend, each moss-covered wall, each whisper of bamboo leaves brushing the morning air. The mountain seemed to breathe with him, exhaling clouds, inhaling silence. By the time he reached the gates of Yuelin Temple, the sun had turned the mist to gold. The old wooden doors stood half open, just as he remembered. The faint smell of incense drifted out, sandalwood, lotus, and rain. Inside, the courtyard looked almost untouched by time. A pair of young monks were sweeping the flagstones, their motions slow and graceful, more like meditation than work. When they noticed Liang, they bowed deeply. "Traveler," one said softly, "you've returned." Liang smiled. "Yes. Though perhaps, I never truly left." They nodded as if they understood, and they did. In places like Yuelin, words were never about explaining, only about remembering. He walked through the inner garden, past the pond filled with sleeping koi, until he came to a narrow corridor lined with paper lanterns. Each lantern glowed faintly, even in daylight, as if the light within them refused to fade. At the end of the hall stood a wooden door. Liang paused. The paint had faded, but the sound of wind chimes above it was exactly the same. The door creaked open at his touch. Inside was the small, bare room where he had once slept, a simple bedroll, a low table, a clay cup. But there was something else now, a folded piece of parchment resting where his pillow had been. Liang unfolded it carefully. The writing was delicate, ink faded by time. It read, When silence becomes your companion, you will never truly be alone. Mistress Yun. His throat tightened. He sat on the floor, eyes closed, the weight of the years between then and now collapsing into a single breath. He could almost hear her voice again, soft, calm, patient, guiding him through the night, teaching him to see rest not as stillness, but as motion in another form. He remained there for hours, saying nothing, thinking nothing, simply breathing. The wind passed through the window like a sigh, and the sunlight crawled gently across the wall. When evening came, Liang lit a single candle and placed it beside the parchment. Its flame flickered once, twice, and then steadied, glowing as if it recognized him. He whispered, "I came here searching for peace. You taught me it was never lost." Outside, the monks began their evening chants, low, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the mountain itself. Liang listened, his head bowed, eyes glistening in the candlelight. The room was empty, yet somehow, he felt surrounded, by memory, by gratitude, by all the quiet voices of the past that had shaped his path. And for the first time in his life, he didn't fear sleep. He lay down on the cool mat, eyes closing slowly, as the chant faded into the distance. The candlelight swayed, the parchment fluttered, and the mountain exhaled. Then silence, deep and endless. Liang awoke to the sound of soft rain tapping against the paper window. For a moment, he wasn't sure if he was dreaming. The air smelled of roasted tea and warmth, the same scent that once followed him through the night markets of Chiyun. He sat up slowly. His candle had melted to a small pool of wax, and the parchment with Mistress Yun's words rested beside it, untouched by the wind. When he stepped outside his room, the temple seemed different. The halls glowed faintly with light, though no lanterns burned. The monks were nowhere to be seen, and yet, he could hear faint voices, laughter, whispers, the clinking of cups. He followed the sound. Through the misted corridor and into the courtyard, he found a door he had never noticed before. It was small, painted red, and warm to the touch. When he opened it, the fragrance of jasmine tea and fresh rain washed over him, familiar, comforting, impossibly real. Inside was a small cafe. Wooden tables. Steam curling from teapots. Shelves filled with ancient books and clay cups that gleamed softly in the golden light. And behind the counter, smiling, serene, stood Mistress Yun. She looked exactly as he remembered, though somehow ageless. "Welcome back, Liang," she said, her voice carrying the warmth of memory. "You've come a long way." He took a hesitant step forward. "I thought, this place didn't exist." "Oh, it doesn't," she said gently, pouring tea into 2 cups. "At least not in the way the waking world understands. This cafe lives between moments, where night never ends, and rest never breaks." Liang sat down, feeling the steam rise against his face. "Then, am I dreaming?" Mistress Yun smiled. "Does it matter?" The tea tasted exactly like he remembered, sweet, earthy, grounding. But more than flavor, it carried something else, stillness. The same stillness he had spent years chasing, learning, teaching. Around him, the cafe began to shimmer softly. He saw glimpses of others, travelers like him, resting in the glow, faces calm, eyes closed. A woman who once could not sleep. A merchant who had forgotten how to breathe. A child who dreamed too loudly. Mistress Yun spoke again, her tone like the rhythm of falling rain. Every soul has a place where it can rest, even for a heartbeat. This cafe is that place, the pause between dreams and dawn. That's why it never closes. Liang looked at her, understanding now what his journey had truly been. All the herbs, all the silence, all the miles he had walked, they were not meant to lead him somewhere else. They were meant to bring him here, to the center of stillness that existed within himself. He whispered, almost to the air. The cafe that never closed, is the heart that never stopped waiting. Mistress Yun's smile deepened. Yes. And now, you can finally rest. The rain grew softer, turning into a mist of silver light. Liang closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the cup in his hands. The world grew quieter, slower, until even breath became part of the silence. And as he drifted, he thought he heard her voice one last time, gentle and distant. Sleep well, traveler. The door will always be open. The candle flickered once more. Then, only the steady sound of rain remained. The cafe glowed faintly in the endless night. A place untouched by time, where every weary heart could stop, sip, and simply be. A cafe that never closed.